Funkar inte.
Nej. Där! Woohoo! Så. Hello, sectors. Nice to be here and give back to the community. Yeah. Today we're going to talk about offensive SIEM, when the blue team changes perspective. On stage is Erkan and me, Shanti.
Hello, hello. My name is Erkan. We both work for the Swedish police CERT group. I have a background as a police officer, and I work mainly with blue teaming. Shanti, what do you do?
I have 8 years in offensive security and 9 years as a blue teamer.
Okay, so before we start the presentation, we will show you a lots of queries, and we will drop them on a GitHub repo. You will have the link in the end of the presentation. So just relax, hop in. Shanti, let's hit the road. Tell them more about offensive SIEM.
Thank you, Erkan. The problem with traditional SIEM solutions are they are reactive, always playing catch up with the threats. It's time to stop being victims and start being bad boys. The typical flow for a SIEM solution are alert generated, breach detected, status too damn late, response always behind, and our solution is go offensive. What if we stop being sitting ducks and start hunting? Turn your SIEM system into a weapon and find low-hanging fruit before the attacker do.
Okay, so how will we do that? We will do it, I can fix it, Shanti. Yeah. How we will do that? We do it by using Sysmon and Windows event logs in our scope for this presentation. We will look for system services in possible user-writable paths. We will look for scheduled tasks in possible user-writable paths. And we will look to DLL hijacking opportunities in user-writable paths. And in the end, we will talk about some software deployment fades. You can think the SIEM like WinPeace or Procmon in some areas, but instead of looking into a single client, we can query the whole enterprise. By doing so, we use bigger guns, get better hunts. That's how we win.
So let's talk about system services. A service is a background process running without user interaction. And if this service is pointing to an insecure path, we have ourselves a privilege escalation. So when using SIEMs, you create queries, and you can generate alerts. So the first query here are for service creation, and if they are pointing to a user-writable path. So we can use the event code 4697 or 7045, and then we check if the path pointing to program data, users, or Windows temp. And if so, we generate ourselves an alert, and we potentially have a privilege escalation. The next one are for service executables, and if they are run from a user-writable path. And we can use event code 4688 or event code 1, process creation. And then we check if the parent process are services.exe, and if the child process is pointing to program data or users. If so, we generate an alert, and we follow it up, and we have ourselves a potential privilege escalation. The next one is this old-school unquoted service path, and we check for that as well. So we can check image path, and if it's not includes a quote, we get ourselves an alert, and we follow up and check the access control on the folders, and potentially have ourselves a privilege escalation. The next one are scheduled tasks, and tasks sometimes run as a system, and if they are pointing to a user-writable path, then we have ourselves a privilege escalation. So this query checks for scheduled task creation. And the same mindset there, if it's pointing to a user-writable path, we potentially have ourselves a privilege escalation. So we can use this event code 4698, and if the scheduled task pointing to program data, users, or Windows temp, Then we get ourselves an alert, and we follow it up and potentially have ourselves or previous escalation.
Thank you, Shanti. Okay, so DLL hijacking, what is that? It's a hacker technique when an attacker makes a process load a malicious DLL. We can query for some of the opportunities in the SIEM. So we can start with the first query. This is a wide query that will look into every possible user writable path. So we use the Sysmon's event code 7 when the system user is loading the DLL from a typical user writable path. As you see, we use the file extensions DLL, capital DLL. Be aware that it could be something else. The second query, it's a more specific one. So this one uses the same event code with the system user, but in this time we are more a process specific. In this query, we look for the print service. So what we have here is the print isolation host or spool SV, and if it's loading a DLL outside a common path. So we are more interested in the user writable paths. And by doing so, boom, we have our first zero-day jackpot. So this zero-day is heavily related to the Epson printer models, some of the models. What happened is that a user triggered some events. We catched them with the previous query, and we started to dig into it. So to get a bigger understanding, we contacted the user and asked her what she was doing. And Maria, she told us that she was using this Epson printer to print footprints for an investigation on high-quality printing papers. So we're like, okay, it's something happening when the printer is used. We started to do test prints on the same printer. So we're firing up test page on the test page, we're up to 2, 3, 4, and suddenly my phone calls, and it's Maria. This time, she's a little bit mad, but still really polite. And she says this, Erkan, is it okay if I change the high-quality premium papers to regular ones because you're wasting them with your test pages? Sorry, Maria, about that. That's another story. Let's show them the demo for the vulnerability. So as you can see, we are in the program data folder, subfolder Epson with the Epson printer model. In the language directory, we have the giptre DLL. If you have this DLL, patch your systems. This DLL, as we can see when checking the file permissions, shows that the regular user has full control over it. So an attacker can basically just overwrite this DLL with a malicious one, then get code execution by doing so. What we like to have is when the system user executes code is to play some music. So we do a test print. It's a virtualized for the same print model here. We do the test print here, and Epson status monitor shows up. We have code execution system. And the output shows that the spool SV ran this DLL as the system user. Okay, so it's not over there. We have 2 more upcoming CVEs. One of them is for the large company Airbus. But we can't show you the vulnerability here today. We gave them a big amount of responsible disclosure time. The time has passed. They have not patched it, not reached back to me. So sorry, I can't show you. We can't have the Swedish police dropping 0 days. Sorry, guys and girls. Okay, so we have talked about the generic one that's catch a widest perspective. We have been process specific. With this query, we are more specific for a file path. So in this query, we check the Windows temp drive with the same event code with Sysmon and the system user. What we have seen with this query is that it's more common with randomized names, and it's often the correct ACLs. But we still believe that this will catch something one day.
So let's check centralized software deployments. In a bigger enterprise environment, user can't install or uninstall applications. But if the organization uses a centralized software deployment, the user actually can install and uninstall application managed by the organization. And if they are using Software Center, for example, the installation process will be done as system. So the problem occurs when the application itself have a weak file or folder permissions, because then we can misuse this and give ourselves a privilege escalation. So this query is a generic query. This will not only fetch SSM installations, it will check for services and scheduled tasks, etc. So what we do is using an event called one process creation, and we check if the user executes as system and if the process executable pointing to program data or user, and then we follow it up and potentially have a privilege escalation. Erkan, do you have anything about this?
Related to the generic query, I have example for you. What we have that in our test environment, we have a user trial testing a software application, so it's before it reaches the production. It's triggering this event. So what we have is that the services.exe is spawning a child process, a system from the program data folder. So when we dig deeper into it and check the file permissions for the executable, we see that the built-in users group has only read and execute permissions. So a binary replacement is not possible. So our message for you, if that happens to you, is to not give up. What you can do is check the folder permissions. So we did that, we checked the folder permissions, and we see that the built-in users group has write access to the folder. And by doing that, we maybe have a DLL hijacking. Let's check that. So we fired up procmon and looked if it's tried to load any DLLs, and we saw that it tried to load 7 DLLs from the same folder. Let's show a demo how it could look like. It's not the real application, but it's the same thing. So we have here is the program data, then /my application /badboys and badboys.exe. The permission shows that the built-in users have read and execute permissions. Binary replacement, not possible. We check the folder permissions, and we see that the built-in user group have write access. So let's look with procmon. Is it trying to load any DLLs? We set up the filters and are looking for name not found. That's the indication. We're firing up the bad boys executable, and as we see also here is it trying to load several DLLs, so we can just drop u.dll in the same folder and get the system code execution by doing so. Okay, so related to software deployment, centralized software deployment, it's likely that if a user can trigger an installation, they can also trigger an uninstallation. And we are interested in to look into that, because an uninstallation process happens perhaps often in the system context. And if the file path, regardless of where, it could be program data, it could be program files, they go into it and look the ACLs. It may not be correct. And if it's not correct, a binary replacement and triggering the uninstallation will give you system code execution. We can also look into script files, created script files. We use Sysmon Windows event code 11 and the system user creating typical script files. It's likely that when an installation happens, it may be use a script file in the installation process. And if it's possible to replace it and let the installation process run your script file, then you will have a privilege escalation. Here, you will likely need to do an offensive mindset, maybe pre-creating files, maybe locking it. You have to try it out. We can also query the process execution itself when the execution of a script file happens. We can use the process creation events, Sysmon or Windows own event 4688. we can look for the command line pointing to a typical user writable path, in this case, program data, and the bat file extension. And if it's triggering, you will likely have a privilege escalation.
So let's review the mindset and transform your blue team into bad boys. As you see, it's not always about the alert and detection. It depends on which logs you have in your enterprise, and you can collect them and do offensive hunting and find yourself privilege escalation in your environments.
Yeah, so the bad boys method we showed you is to see it, hunt it, prove it, and stop it. We do it in our scope by querying in the logs, look for the ones in user writable paths, the ones with insecure ACL, we have our privilege escalation.
So, mission briefing recap. What we just accomplished. Let's review the tactical objectives. We have flipped the SIEM from reactive to offensive. We have identified 4 critical attack vectors to hunt for. We have weaponized Sysmon and Windows event and transform your blue team into bad boys. And it doesn't really matter if you don't have a SIEM solution. You can use your EDR solution and do similar queries for.
Yes, so the offensive arsenal we deployed and showed you is to use system services in typical user writable paths, schedule tasks in user writable paths, the DLL hijacking opportunities in user writable paths, and in the end, the sum of the software deployment fails. You can think it like that it's a one case, but many corners. There's much more to look into, much other areas to look into, so it's only a one case, many corners. You go out and find them and let us know.
So we have a bonus query for you. During my years, I have a free native Microsoft CVEs. And Erkan really want a Microsoft CVE. And he was so close. Erkan, do you want to talk about it?
Shanti, I knew that you would bring that one up. Okay, we start with talking about the query itself, then we can talk about the one I just missed. So the idea behind this query is to use the process creation events when the system user executes processes from, in this case, from the C roots subfolders. So think it like c:/my application/myapp.exe. Why is that interesting? It's because the default inheritance of the permissions for applications installed in the C root drive is that it gives every authenticated user modify access. And that's an issue, because then the user can modify the files, drop files, overwrite files, and this is happening if not the installation process itself adjusts and corrects the ACL. Let's show you the demo of the Microsoft CVE I just missed. It's not related to the Windows native, it's related to Windows SDK. So we use the March 25 release. We install it, and we install the Windows IP over USB. It creates a system service, and the service will run as the system user. And it's created in the C:/Microsoft shared and the subfolder of that. So it's in the C root drive. And when we're checking the ACL for the executable, we see that the authenticated users have modify access, and that's an issue. Then it's possible to replace files, in this case, drop files, by looking at the folder permissions also. It's the same. This one has a DLL hijacking vulnerability, and it's possible to replace the binder itself. So thank you, Shanti, for bringing that one up. So we are reaching the end of our presentation. Our message for you is to use the SIEM as a vulnerability scanner, do your queries, fine-tune them, and make alerts of them. Then just relax and let the environment work for you. You catch the alerts, dig into them, and you will likely find something interesting. Because that's how we do it at PMSAT. Okay, before we take the questions, the link is there. But we have an issue, Shanti and I. As you see, the theme is heavily based up on the bad boys team. And we both have been arguing about the subject, and we would like you to help us to put an end to it. It's about who is the Will Smith character. Shanti is saying that he is the Will Smith guy, and I'm saying that I'm the Will Smith guy. And we have been arguing for many years. So what we would like from you is to help us by, we can do it like this. The one who gets the loudest applause will be decided by the community as Will Smith. So if you think that Shanti, the man, the myth, the legend, my brother from another mother, the one who is always in time, the one who never missed a meeting. If you think that he's the Will Smith guy, please applaud. Okay, and if you think that I'm the Will Smith guy, I have to tell you that I'm the cop over here. Please applaud, and you may also whistle. Shanti, finally, the community have decided. It looks like that we will keep arguing because it's a tie.
Oh, that's the most Swedish thing ever. It's like, oh, we can't decide winners. We're all just going to have to hug it out. So we do have 5 minutes for questions. These guys, you do have a stand, right?
Yes, we have a booth over the... Is it first room? Yeah,
yeah, it's over there somewhere.
The Swedish police booth.
Yeah, you can go. You can actually find your cops and not be terrified of them. I don't know. I'm used to dealing with like British police who are like quite mild-mannered, and then there's American police who are fucking terrifying. Because it's like, don't shoot. I know I'm not white. Don't shoot. See, I'm not black. Please don't shoot. Sorry, that was probably unnecessarily mean.
It's okay.
So we've got a couple of microphones out. If you've got questions, please put your hands up. Otherwise, you can find these guys at their booth. Any questions in the room? Yes, one here.
Should I continue? Yeah. Thank you for the presentation. It was like a TV show. It was really good. And I want to ask you about the false positives that you are creating to many, very good queries. This is really good. What is the number of alerts you are receiving, and how many of them false positive?
Okay, really good question. Yeah, so software deployment have often strict correct ACLs. Temp folder also with randomized names, so it's hard to abuse it. But it's a reason why we are showing you this. This is the only ones that we can talk about. It's more we maybe could talk about, but not here. So I promise, if you have a large environment with a dynamic environment with installations and people doing lots of stuff and using every type of application, try this out. It will give you results.
Yep.
Another one. Who have the most CVEs from you?
Okay. I can't beat the Microsoft native. One of them is like 10, so he hasn't. But if we talk about in production and the privilege escalations, who is it? Yeah, so official, he's the winner. Unofficial, I'm the winner.
Do we have any other questions? I'm just looking to see if there are any hands. Right. I guess it's we have 35 minutes now. Thank you very much for being quick, for Fika. Your coffee break.
Come to a booth.
Yeah.
We have the link
Come to the
here.
booth.
We can answer private questions.
Yep, private questions, police merch. Thank you again to the
Thank
cops.
you.